From ancient frescoes to contemporary installations, flowers have always held a special place in art, valued both for their hidden meanings and their aesthetic beauty. As powerful symbols, they have conveyed emotions and beliefs through their shape, color, fragrance, wordplay, and religious associations. While interpretations vary across cultures and regions, some meanings remain universal, inspiring artists to reinvent them in countless styles and contexts. In this video, we'll explore how flowers have been portrayed throughout art history, from delicate still lifes to bold, modern interpretations. In antiquity, floral motifs were commonly used to decorate floors and walls. Flowers symbolized nature's beauty, the life's abundance, and its transience, but were also appreciated for their intrinsic beauty. The rose also had a funerary connotation, so much so that in ancient Rome the Feast of Roses, Rosalia, was part of ceremonies honoring the dead. This Roman mosaic, depicting a detailed bouquet of flowers, is housed in the Hall of the Greek Cross within the Vatican Museums and dates back to the 3rd century. It features a detailed floral arrangement set on a dark background. Floral compositions have always been a highly prized genre in Chinese painting, where each plant and animal can convey a beneficial meaning or serve as a rebus. There are two main styles in Chinese painting. Gongbi is a meticulous and highly realistic technique, and Xieyi is an interpretive style that expresses the idea more freely. Red and White Cotton Roses by Li Di, created in 1197, is considered his lifetime masterpiece and a prime example of Chinese Huaniaohua, a bird and flower painting style with a long tradition in Chinese art. This work, executed in the Gongbi style, is known for its meticulous detail and precision, capturing the delicate beauty and luminous colors of the cotton roses. Madonna of the Rose Bower by Stefan Lochner depicts the Virgin Mary as the Queen of Heaven, seated beneath a canopy with red curtains separated by angels. The Christian tradition likely adopted the antique funerary meaning of the rose, seeing in it and its thorns the suffering of martyrs. However, the flower is more commonly associated with the Virgin Mary. According to legend, the rose had no thorns before the fall of man, and the Virgin is called the Rose Without Thorns because she was untouched by original sin. This painting adheres closely to the iconographic scheme of the Madonna of the Rose Bower, in which the Virgin Mary and the Christ child, surrounded by saints and angels, are seated under a rose trellis. Since ancient times, the lily has been an attribute of mythical mothers due to its extraordinary reproductive capacity. Pliny the Elder also highlighted its immaculate whiteness. In Christian iconography, the lily symbolizes purity and chastity, often associated with the Virgin Mary. In Leonardo da Vinci's Annunciation, the Archangel Gabriel presents Mary with a white lily, emphasizing her purity. This painting also showcases Leonardo's early experiments with light, shadow, and perspective, contributing to its depth and realism. Additionally, the enclosed garden depicted symbolizes Mary's virginity. In other paintings, the lily is also a heraldic emblem, appearing on the coat of arms of the city of Florence and the French monarchy. As a quintessential symbol of love, the rose is often dedicated to Venus. Sandro Botticelli's The Birth of Venus depicts the goddess Venus standing gracefully on a scallop shell, symbolizing her emergence from the sea. She is gently blown toward the shore by Zephyrus, the west wind, who is accompanied by a female figure identified as either Aura, a nymph of the wind, or Chloris, a nymph associated with spring and blossoming flowers. Awaiting Venus's arrival is one of the Horae, goddesses of the seasons, ready to drape her with a cloak. Beyond its mythological narrative, the painting is believed to symbolize baptism, drawing a parallel between Venus's emergence from the sea and a Christian's rebirth through baptismal waters. The Birth of Venus is often paired with Botticelli's Primavera. While the former shows Venus's arrival from the sea, the Primavera is often interpreted as an allegory of spring, love, marriage, and fertility, depicting Venus amidst a blooming world that symbolizes the triumph of love over brutality. The painting brings together 9 classical mythological figures, including Venus, Cupid, the three Graces, Mercury, Zephyrus, and Chloris. This assembly creates a narrative that intertwines various myths to convey a unified theme of spring's arrival and the renewal of life. The artwork features an astonishing array of over 500 plant species, with around 190 different flowers accurately depicted. Giuseppe Arcimboldo's Primavera, painted around 1563, is a remarkable example of his imaginative portraiture, where he uses flowers, fruits, and other natural elements to form human figures. This work is part of a series of 4 paintings representing the seasons, showcasing his unique approach to portraiture and his fascination with the natural world. In this painting, Arcimboldo creates a composite portrait using various flowers, symbolizing the arrival of spring and the renewal of life. Just a little pause, I wanted to thank you for being here. Each video is the result of over 100 hours of work, including in-depth research from reliable sources. So if you enjoy the content and want to support the channel, please consider subscribing, liking the videos, and leaving a comment, even a small one. I hope you'll enjoy the video. Thanks! The floral painting style of Peter Bruegel the Elder and Ambrosius Bosschaert quickly became the standard for generations, featuring symmetrical and neatly arranged bouquets with a variety of flowers from every season, often crowned by the expensive tulip. Ambrosius Bosschaert rarely varied his compositions, likely due to the high demand for floral still lifes. He was also one of the first to use a monochromatic background, which helped intensify the vibrancy of the flowers, making them pop more dramatically. To achieve smoother paint application and greater detail, Bosschaert chose copper as his support rather than canvas, a technique that allowed for a brilliance that has remained nearly unchanged to this day. The sunflower has a particular meaning in art. In Ovid's Metamorphoses, Clytie, abandoned by Apollo and overcome with despair, is transformed into a flower that perpetually turns toward the sun. Ovid does not specify the type of flower, but describes it as violet-colored. Sometimes identified as heliotrope or marigold, the flower became associated with the sunflower in the 16th century, when it was introduced from the Americas. Baroque painters illustrated this myth, giving the flower the meaning of unconditional devotion. Anthony van Dyck's self-portrait with a sunflower, painted around 1632, shows his status at the English court. In this painting, Van Dyck presents himself with a sunflower, a symbol of devotion and loyalty, positioned prominently beside him. This inclusion is often interpreted as a subtle allusion to his patron, King Charles I. Ogata Korin's Irises is a celebrated example of Edo period painting, created in the early 18th century. The work, a pair of 6-panel folding screens, symbolically represents a scene from the Yatsuhashi, 8-plank bridge episode of the Ise Monogatari, Tales of Ise, a famous 10th century Japanese literary work containing lyrical tales and poems. Korin focuses on the irises, omitting the protagonist and the bridge, and employs a rhythmic, almost abstract composition with rich color contrasts. The flowers are painted in the Mokotsu style, without ink outlines, showcasing Korin's innovative approach. In Europe, the tulip, originally from Persia, was first imported to Vienna in the second half of the 16th century. It quickly spread across the continent, particularly in Holland. By the early 17th century, thanks to various crossbreeding efforts, over 140 species were cultivated, some of which were extremely rare and highly expensive. The flower's popularity reached such heights that a specialized stock exchange was established in Amsterdam, where people could speculate on the colors of new bulbs, winning or losing substantial sums. Some experts interpret the tulip as an emblem of divine love, as it withers when far from the sun. At the beginning of the 18th century, still lifes and flower bouquets continued to be traditional subjects in Dutch painting. However, while early 17th century works emphasized order and clarity, with meticulously arranged bouquets of flowers set against dark backgrounds to create a stark contrast, Van Huysum's Bouquet of Flowers takes a different approach. His painting presents a more dynamic and abundant arrangement, with flowers seemingly cascading from the vase. This less rigid composition reflects a shift towards a more naturalistic and exuberant portrayal of floral abundance. The style is also more fluid and expressive, focusing on the interplay of light and shadow, which adds depth and realism to the work. Despite these differences, artists from both periods incorporate symbolic elements, such as insects and butterflies, which add layers of meaning to the paintings. These details often serve as memento mori, reminding viewers of life's fleeting nature. Flowers also make their way into portraits. This painting by Elisabeth Louise Vigée-Lebrun shows Queen Marie Antoinette in a half-length, three-quarter view, holding a rose in her left hand. This gesture symbolizes her affection for nature and her role as a patroness of the arts and sciences. The rose, in particular, is often associated with beauty and love, thereby enhancing the image of the queen as a graceful and benevolent figure. This intimate portrayal, presenting the queen with simplicity, is the most famous of the 5 variations created. Pierre-Joseph Redoutey was an 18th-century painter, engraver, and publisher. He is renowned for his watercolor botanical illustrations, particularly of roses and lilies. Marie Antoinette became his patron and appointed him as the queen's official draftsman and painter. A few years later, he came under the patronage of Joséphine de Beauharnais and became her official painter. In Japanese culture, peonies symbolize wealth and honor, while canaries represent joy and vitality. The combination of these elements in Peonies and Canary by Hokusai reflects themes of beauty and the transient nature of life. The artwork is a woodblock ukiyo-e print, a popular medium in Edo period Japan. Hokusai was renowned for his mastery of this technique, capturing intricate details and luminous colors. This print is part of an untitled series known as Small Flowers, which features detailed depictions of various flowers and birds. Each print in the series includes a Chinese-style poem related to the featured flower. This early painting reflects Monet's fascination with capturing fleeting moments, a theme that would dominate his later work. The peonies, hydrangeas, and lilacs, set against a dark background, spill outward from the geraniums behind them. Painted with almost scientific accuracy, the still life is meticulously detailed, while Monet's dynamic brush strokes bring the light sparkling on the leaves and petals to life. After returning from England in 1871, Monet settled in Argenteuil, where he lived until 1878. These years marked a period of growth for him, supported by his dealer Paul Durand-Ruel. The surrounding landscapes provided Monet with the opportunity to explore plein air painting. The oversized blooms in the foreground reflect his focus on visual impression over precision. The composition, divided into 2 color zones, red and bluish-green, gives the painting a sense of structure. The woman with the parasol and the child in the foreground are likely his wife Camille and their son, Jean. The painting was exhibited at the first Impressionist exhibition in 1874, marking a significant moment in art history. In Woman with Parasol in a Garden, Renoir's language is entirely Impressionist. In a setting without any visible horizon, flowers and shrubs are created using tiny dabs of color, offering a constant interweaving of textures around the 2 small figures. The woman, sheltered from the sun by her parasol, stands next to the man, who is perhaps bending down to pick a flower, suggesting an intimate relationship. Contrary to what one might think, this painting was not created in the countryside, but in the garden of Renoir's new studio in Montmartre. His friend Georges Rivière recalls, "As soon as Renoir entered the house, he was charmed by the view of this garden, which looked like a beautiful, abandoned park." Lilacs in a Window is an Impressionist painting by Mary Cassatt, featuring a vase of lilacs set against a window. Mary Cassatt, an American painter and printmaker, was known for her depictions of domestic life and portraits of women and children. This painting is one of her few still lifes and was originally owned by Parisian art collector Moïse Dreyfus, a friend and early patron of Cassatt. The painting was exhibited at the 4th Impressionist exhibition in 1879. In the early 1880s, Claude Monet focused on painting ambitious floral still lifes. However, this lavish bouquet of mauves caused him particular difficulty. He set the painting aside and didn't return to it until 40 years later. His later touches on the long-dried paint are visible in some of the petals and leaves. The off-center placement of the ceramic vase and the unusually high viewpoint create a strange feeling, as if the table and flowers are leaning forward and the forms are dissolving. In the final year of his life, while seriously ill and confined to his home, Edouard Manet painted at least 20 floral still-life paintings, including white lilacs in a glass vase. During this time, he received visits from his closest friends who brought him fresh flowers that he painted from his bedside. In this example, the lilacs are placed in a crystal vase, decorated with gilded bands and white enamel dots, set on a marble tabletop. Despite his failing health, Manet managed to create a painting with richly sensual brushwork, embodied by the white patches that evoke the flowers. Paul Gauguin's still life with peonies marks an early exploration in his artistic career, created shortly after he transitioned from a stockbroker to a full-time artist. In this work, Gauguin employs an impressionist style, reflecting the influence of contemporaries like Camille Pissarro. The composition features a beautiful arrangement of peonies, showcasing Gauguin's developing interest in color and form that would later define his post-impressionist masterpieces. Sir Lawrence Alma-Tadema's 1888 oil painting, The Roses of Heliogabalus, portrays the Roman Emperor Elagabalus hosting a banquet, during which he smothers guests beneath a cascade of rose petals, a scene derived from historical accounts of the emperor's notorious reign. The artwork is celebrated for its meticulous attention to detail, emphasizing Alma-Tadema's fascination with classical antiquity. Van Gogh's sunflower paintings, created in Arles in 1888 to 1889, are among his most famous works. He painted 5 different large canvases featuring sunflowers in a vase, using 3 shades of yellow. The sunflowers held special meaning for Van Gogh, symbolizing gratitude. He hung the first 2 in the room of his friend, artist Paul Gauguin, who had come to live with him at the Yellow House. Paul Gauguin was struck by the sunflowers, calling them completely Vincent. In May 1889, Vincent van Gogh entered an asylum in Saint-Rémy in France, where he created nearly 130 paintings. One of his first works there was Irises, painted from life in the asylum's garden. The composition, influenced by Japanese print patterns, features bright colors and large irises spilling beyond the edges. Van Gogh considered it a study, and his brother Theo submitted it to the Salon des Indépendants in 1889. Each iris is uniquely shaped, with Van Gogh capturing their movement and form. Art critic Octave Mirbeau, the first owner, praised the artist's deep understanding of the flower's beauty. Roses was painted just before Van Gogh left the Saint-Rémy asylum, as he felt he was about to accept both his illness and himself. During these final weeks of recovery, painting was essential to his healing. He wrote to his brother Theo that he had worked in a frenzy, creating large bouquets of flowers, including purple irises and big rose bunches. This piece is one of his most beautiful still lifes, showcasing an exuberant bouquet of roses in full bloom. The thick layers of paint on this work were so dense that the canvas took a whole month to dry. Originally, the roses were pink, a color that has faded just as in almond blossom, and would have created a complementary contrast with the green. Vincent van Gogh was fascinated by such color combinations. Among the many floral still lifes he painted during his final weeks at the psychiatric hospital in Saint-Rémy, the bouquet in the irises stands out. For him, the painting was a study of color and contrast. To achieve this, he set the blue-violet flowers against a yellow background. Van Gogh described it as an effect of terribly disparate complementary colors that strengthen each other through their opposition. Paul Cézanne, still life with flowers and fruit, created around 1890, exemplifies his post-impressionist approach to still life painting. The composition features a harmonious arrangement of flowers and fruit, showcasing Cézanne's distinctive brushwork and exploration of form and color. This work is part of a series of over 170 still lifes he produced during the 1880s, where he frequently rearranged similar elements to study their spatial relationships. Paul Gauguin's still life with flowers and idol embodies his fusion of Western still life traditions with Polynesian cultural elements. Created during his first stay in Tahiti, the painting features a bouquet of colorful exotic flowers alongside a Tahitian idol, reflecting Gauguin's interest in the island's spirituality and natural beauty. The composition showcases his experimental use of color and form, distinguishing his work from Impressionism and highlighting his role in the synthetist art movement. Odilon Redon's vase of flowers demonstrates his transition from monochromatic works to shimmering color. This period marked a shift in his artistic focus, with floral still lifes becoming a significant part of his work. The painting showcases the artist's imaginative approach, blending real and fantastical elements to create dreamlike compositions. His friendship with botanist Armand Claveau influenced his interest in plant life, inspiring the detailed yet imaginative depictions seen in this work. Floral motifs were a recurring theme in Henri Matisse's work. Matisse's Parrot Tulips, significant work from the early phase of his career, shows his innovative use of color and form, marking a departure from traditional artistic conventions. The painting shows his exploration of pointillism and neo-impressionism, influenced by artists like Paul Signac. 2 years later, Henri Matisse's work showed a clear shift towards simplified forms. His work Flowers features a bouquet arranged in a white vase, set against a background of loosely painted greenery. The bold brush strokes and vivid colors are signature elements of Matisse's Fauvist period. Henri Matisse's Peonies was also painted in 1907, during his Fauvist period. Created in Collioure in late spring, the composition features a beautiful bouquet of peonies in a vase. The work reflects Matisse's shift from traditional representation to a more abstract style, emphasizing bold colors and expressive brushwork over realistic detail. In Flowering Poppies, Gustav Klimt captures a large meadow teeming with red poppies, extending across the canvas. In the foreground, slender fruit trees blend seamlessly with the prairie, their outlines subtly merging with the surrounding flora. The upper portion of the painting offers a glimpse of the broader landscape and sky. Klimt employed a technique reminiscent of French pointillism, a style that was gaining popularity in Vienna at the time. While Klimt's use of pointillist strokes contributes to the ornamental effect, the large poppies and daisies in the foreground are depicted with remarkable naturalism. Farm Garden with Sunflowers, painted in 1913, it is a gorgeous depiction of a rural flower garden that Klimt encountered during his summer stay on the shore of the Attersee. In this artwork, he employs a diagonal composition to connect the foreground and background, emphasizing the materiality of the flowers with luminous colors. The painting also reflects Klimt's admiration for post-impressionist techniques, showcasing his use of bright colors and intricate details to capture the fleeting beauty of the flowers. In The Sunflower, Klimt introduces an unusual anthropomorphic element not commonly seen in his other tree and flower paintings. The geometric composition here serves more than just a decorative purpose. The shape of the sunflower and its leaves closely resembles the forms of the lovers in The Kiss. Alexei von Jawlensky's Still Life with Flowers demonstrates his status as a leading expressionist artist of the 20th century. Dubbed the Russian Matisse, he creates a lively interior scene filled with graphic flowers and dynamic energy. The composition combines bold brushstrokes, opaque textures, and contrasting flattened planes to achieve depth and visual harmony. Pansies, from the German painter Emil Nolde, was created in 1908 during his Expressionist period. The artwork features a colorful display of pansies, showcasing Nolde's characteristic bold colors and dynamic brushwork. The painting is an example of his exploration of color and form, emphasizing emotional expression over realistic representation. In 1910, Piet Mondrian painted Amaryllis, a watercolor on paper, during his Fauvist period, showcasing bold colors and simplified forms. The painting features a beautiful red amaryllis set against a contrasting blue background, highlighting Mondrian's exploration of color and abstraction. In 1912, Henri Matisse created Purple Cyclamen. This work illustrates Matisse's expressionist style, featuring bold brush strokes and vivid colors to depict a cyclamen flower. Native to Greece, the cyclamen derives its name from the Greek word kuklos, meaning circle, due to the unique movement of its stem. Pliny noted that this flower was considered an amulet and was believed to have the power to heal snake bites. It has also embodied various meanings over time, ranging from sincere and lasting love to modesty and maternal love. Monet moved to Giverny in 1883, and in 1893 created a Japanese-style garden with a pond filled with water lilies, crossed by a humpback bridge. He retreated to this tranquil space to paint his final Water Lilies series. Monet built a glass-walled studio beside the garden and set up a movable easel that allowed him to paint freely, creating numerous works, capturing the changing reflections of the pond at different times of the day. While he included the surrounding willows and bridge in some works, he later focused solely on the pond, filling the entire canvas with its image. This gave viewers the feeling of standing in the center of the pond. Women in a Flower Garden is a painting by Emile Nolda, created in 1916. The painting depicts a woman amidst a lush garden, reflecting Nolda's fascination with nature and human figures. In 2017, the painting was returned to the heirs of Eduard and Rita Müller, Jewish collectors persecuted by the Nazi regime, as part of the restitution of Nazi-looted art. In 1909, Joaquín Sorolla invested his New York exhibition earnings into building a home in Madrid, completed in 1911, featuring gardens he designed in Valencian and Sevillian styles. In 1917, while working on the Regions of Spain series, he returned to Madrid and created Courtyard of the Casa Sorolla, showcasing his masterful use of light and color. Flowers in Front of a Window is another painting by Henri Matisse, created in 1922, which showcases a beautiful floral arrangement set against a sunlit window, highlighting Matisse's masterful use of color and light. In 1924, Georgia O'Keeffe painted Petunia No. 2, marking her first large-scale flower painting. This oil on canvas measures approximately 90 by 75 centimeters and features a prominent lavender-purple petunia in the foreground, with additional purple buds and a dark arc above. The piece testifies to O'Keeffe's innovative approach to magnifying natural subjects, inviting viewers to appreciate the intricate details of the flower. The same year, Georgia O'Keeffe painted Red Canna in the same dimensions. The painting features a close-up view of a canna lily, emphasizing its intricate details and radiant colors. This artwork highlights her technique of magnifying natural forms to explore their abstract qualities. In 1926, the artist painted Black Iris Threme, another monumental flower painting that enlarges the petals far beyond life-size proportions, compelling viewers to observe the small details that might otherwise be overlooked. This piece is part of a series of paintings O'Keeffe created featuring irises, a subject that held personal significance for the artist. Born near Vitebsk in what is now Belarus, Chagall relocated to Paris in 1923 to escape the difficult conditions in Soviet Russia after World War I and the October Revolution. Settling into a more comfortable life in Paris, Chagall's creativity flourished, and his work from this time exudes a sense of tenderness and joy. In Lovers Among Lilacs, a couple embraces within a massive, dreamlike bouquet of fragrant flowers. The enchanting, romantic scene takes center stage, offering the lovers a peaceful refuge from the stresses of daily life. Diego Rivera, a Mexican realist, cubist, and muralist painter, is famous for creating works with strong political and social content in public buildings. He is also known for his marriage to painter Frida Kahlo. The Flower Carrier is a 1935 painting depicting a man burdened by a large basket of flowers, symbolizing the weight of labor and the struggles of the working class. Rivera's use of bold colors and geometric shapes emphasizes the physical and emotional weight of the man's load. Indeed, Diego Rivera created several series focusing on the lives of Mexican laborers, highlighting their importance in society and addressing themes of exploitation and resilience. In his 1949 painting, The Flower Vendor, the artist portrays indigenous women selling calla lilies. Rivera's focus on indigenous subjects is a recurring theme in his work, showing his commitment to representing Mexico's cultural heritage. Mario Maffei was an Italian painter and co-founder of the Roman School of Painting with his wife Antonietta Raffael. In 1927, the couple moved to an apartment on Via Cavour, where art historian Roberto Longhi coined the term School of Via Cavour to describe a group of expressive artists in contrast to official movements like Novecento and Valori Plastici. Maffei's work often depicted Rome, focusing on intimacy and the impact of fascist demolitions. In the 1930s, he transitioned to painting flowers, adopting a lighter, clearer style that reflected on life and death. In this painting by Herman Anglada Camarasa, a radiant bouquet of fresh dahlias and wild roses stands out against a dark green background, creating a striking, almost abstract effect. Throughout his life, the artist admired pyrotechnic displays, inspired him to paint rhythmic, dynamically extending patterns and bright colors that mimic the configurations of exploding fireworks. This work originates from Anglada's second Mallorcan period, following his exile in Paris during the Spanish Civil War. Upon returning to his house in Port Pollença in 1949, his painting became increasingly experimental, characterized by vivid, hallucinogenic colors. His compositions, whether still lifes or the extraordinary submarine landscapes he began painting at this time, are almost surreal, markedly different from his earlier depictions of Parisian society at the turn of the century. Andy Warhol's Flowers series, created in 1964, features bold, colorful images of hibiscus flowers. Warhol sourced the original photograph from a 1964 issue of Modern Photography magazine, taken by photographer Patricia Caulfield. This series displays Warhol's exploration of mass production and consumer culture, reflecting his fascination with repetition and commercial imagery. The Flowers series remains one of Warhol's most celebrated works. It's a great example of his innovative approach to art and his ability to transform ordinary images into iconic pieces. Self-taught Louisiana artist Clementine Hunter is known for her colorful, simple scenes inspired by her memories of life on a southern plantation. Having worked mainly in cotton fields and later as a domestic worker, her compositions feature outdoor activities and still lifes of everyday objects. One recurring subject in her work is zinnias, a flower commonly found in the South. Zinnias in a Pot depicts a freshly cut bouquet in flat perspective against a bright yellow background, with the flowers' simple beauty and vitality extending beyond the edge of their small blue pot. Yayoi Kusama's Flowers That Bloom at Midnight is an oversized, colorful sculpture made from fiberglass reinforced plastic, urethane paint, and a metal frame. This artwork features large, polka-dotted blossoms with a distinctive gazing eye, creating an interactive experience with the viewer. The piece plays with themes of fairy tales, inviting viewers to imagine narratives such as Thumbelina emerging from the flower's magical petals. It is part of Kusama's fascination with size, transformation, and the whimsical nature of the magical realm. Anya Galaccio is known for her work with organic materials such as ice, flowers, fruits, and sugar. Her installations often change over time as they melt, decompose, or sprout new life. Preserve Beauty is an installation artwork featuring approximately 2,000 red gerbera flowers pressed between glass panels. Over time, the flowers decompose, highlighting themes of impermanence and the transient nature of beauty. This piece challenges romanticized notions of nature and culture, life and death, by allowing the flowers to decay within the protective glass, accelerating their decomposition. Puppy is a monumental sculpture by American artist Jeff Koons, first unveiled in 1992. Standing over 40 feet tall, this West Highland White Terrier is entirely covered with a vibrant array of live flowering plants, including marigolds, begonias, impatiens, petunias, and lobelias. The sculpture's internal structure comprises stainless steel and wood, supporting the soil and plants, with an integrated irrigation system to maintain the flowers. Since its debut, Puppy has been exhibited in various locations worldwide, including the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Sydney, and Rockefeller Center in New York City. Anselm Kiefer's Let a Thousand Flowers Bloom is a profound commentary on political ideology and history. The title references Chairman Mao Zedong's 1957 campaign slogan, "Let 100 flowers bloom," which initially encouraged open intellectual discourse, but led to the persecution of dissenting voices. Kiefer juxtaposes encrusted flowers with an imposing statue, symbolizing the suppression of individual expression under authoritarian regimes. The artwork incorporates unconventional materials like sand and ash, adding texture and depth while evoking themes of decay and destruction. Banksy's Love is in the Air, also known as Flower Thrower, is a famous artwork that first appeared in Jerusalem in 2003. Executed in stencil, one of the many techniques associated with street art, the work depicts a masked protester in mid-throw, but instead of a weapon, he is hurling a bouquet of flowers. This piece cleverly mixes images of conflict and peace, turning an act of aggression into one of love and hope. Rose 2 by Isa Genskin is a monumental sculpture measuring 11 meters in height, crafted from stainless steel, aluminum, and lacquer. This work exemplifies Genskin's innovative approach to contemporary sculpture, blending industrial materials with organic forms. Takashi Murakami is a Japanese artist renowned for his superflat aesthetic that merges fine art with pop culture. He often explores themes of consumerism, youth culture, and the relationship between traditional Japanese art and contemporary culture. His use of playful, cartoonish characters has become an iconic part of his artistic identity. This piece features Murakami's signature smiling flowers, rendered in bright colors and bold outlines. Mark Quinn's 2024 exhibition, Light into Life, at Kew Gardens in London, explores the intricate relationship between humans and plants. The exhibition features monumental sculptures throughout the gardens, including a large-scale series inspired by herbarium specimens of plants that have contributed to drug discovery, such as the opium poppy. Among the 17 stainless steel and bronze sculptures showcased around the gardens and in the Temperate House, giant orchids in red, white, and chrome make a strong impression. The mirrored effect of many of the stainless steel sculptures blurs the boundaries between the viewer, the sculpture, and the landscape. To create his works, Mark Quinn used advanced technologies, including 3D scanning of real plants. Human Nature by Mark Quinn is a thought-provoking work that challenges perceptions of life, decay, and sustainability. The sculpture consists of a bunch of flowers that the artist scanned and recreated using powdered animal blood, a byproduct of the meat industry often used in gardening. The material is rehydrated, molded, and then frozen, which encapsulates the idea of sustaining life through an unnatural process. The piece is only preserved under specific conditions at -25 degrees. This vase of flowers, beautiful but with a dark heart as it is made of dead animals, symbolizes humanity's dual role in climate change and the environment, where humans are both the villain and the goodie, in the artist's words. In 2017, Yayoi Kusama's Flower Obsession installation invited visitors to cover a domestic interior with faux flowers, reflecting her childhood memories. This interactive piece was commissioned for the inaugural National Gallery of Victoria Triennial in Australia and featured flower decals, fabric flowers, furniture, and found objects. The installation created an immersive environment that encouraged engagement with the art. In 2016, Barack Obama invited Kehinde Wiley to the White House to ask him to paint his portrait. The artist, who had primarily focused on portraying everyday people and those from modest backgrounds, enthusiastically accepted the commission. Wiley created a portrait in which the floral backdrop symbolizes key locations in Obama's life, Kenya, Hawaii, and Chicago, while also adding a personal and humanizing touch to the composition. From ancient civilizations to contemporary creators, flowers have transcended time and artistic movements, serving as symbols of beauty, fragility, and deeper human emotions. They have fascinated artists who, throughout history, have given them a central place in their works. Even today, floral imagery remains a powerful source of inspiration, and there is no doubt that flowers will continue to inspire new generations of artists evolving with new technologies and ideas.